Okay, so here we are for part 2 of the Photoshop, adding fall color and leaves and textures into your photo. So where we had left off was I was talking about selecting our blades of grass and getting our leaves arranged behind those blades in a believable manner. And like I was saying before, you just want to go with what looks natural. So in this case, I just took a small scattering of leaves and got them around our subject in the photo and didn't go overboard with it. And also with that, as I was arranging my leaves and placing them where I wanted them, I was also coming over here to my opacity and adjusting my opacity as needed, maybe putting it down to 50%, 60%, something like that, just to kind of make those leaves blend a little bit better. And if they were still looking too obvious that they were placed there, then what I was doing is I was going up to my filter to the Gaussian blur. I have a shortcut key for this, but if you don't, you just go underneath. Hang on, I need to select a layer here, so don't let me do it. You select blur and then Gaussian blur, and then this box will come up, and then you can just kind of eyeball it with your layer select. It'll have a preview of whatever you have the layer selected in there, so you can zoom in on your leaf, and then you can just use this slider to blur it a lot or little or whatever you see fit, and it'll show you that preview as long as your box is checked. So with that and then the opacity, you can really get those leaves to look like they actually belong in the photograph, like they were taken when you took the photo. So moving on from that, the next thing that I would do is I would go down here and I would click the add a new layer button, which is this one right here, and that's just going to add a new blank layer. And then with this layer, I'm actually going to do a little bit of hand painting. So I'll have this layer selected, and then what I did was I just went in with my eyedropper tool from my toolbox right here and clicked on that, and then I came in and I sampled some colors from my leaves that I had placed in here. So I think I had started out with kind of like an orange tone from this leaf, and if you just click on that, you'll see that it comes up in your swatch picker. And then I just took my brush, and you can press B as a shortcut, or you can just hit it on your toolbox. And then I just used a really, actually larger than this. It's probably like about that size. I used about that size, just a large soft brush, and just came in here and hand painted just here and there little bits of color into my photo with a very low opacity. I had my opacity set, right now it's at 73, but I had my opacity set, I think it was like around 25 to 30, and just kind of came in here and colored a little bit into this photo, and then went back again and picked a brown color, did the same thing, and then picked kind of like a yellow color and just kind of went through my photo and kind of got a little bit of color in there. And if you look when I turn this on and off, you can see it kind of just, toned down those highlights a little bit, kind of gave it a little bit more color, kind of helped with the overall feel of the photograph. So once I did that, then I wanted to affect the colors that you see here with the grass. The grass was too vibrant. It's too green for a fall photo. It looks too summery, so it's not really fitting with our overall theme. So I wanted to affect those greens only without having to paint, and I wanted to make sure that it was actually affecting like the most green parts of the photo. So what I did for that is I came over here and I did my hue saturation layer, and I went ahead and I clicked on that, and that's going to bring this box up here that you see. Zoom in on that a little bit. So it's going to default to the master, but then you can individually affect the colors that you're looking for. So I went ahead and I picked my greens, and then just to show you, so you can see in the photo, and this helps if you have somebody that has like really reddish skin and you're trying to downtone their reds. First, if you slide it up, you can really see where that is affecting it most. So you just take a mental note of that and then put it back, and then from there then you can adjust your lightness, your darkness, that sort of thing, and kind of tone down the red. But for this case, for greens, I wanted to actually change the color. I wanted a color shift. I didn't want it to be so green. So I had actually taken my hue slider and I just eyeballed it until I found like kind of like, see right there how I kind of turned it more into like a fall sort of, like the grass isn't quite as green color. So just kind of eyeball it and do that. And then what you can do once you do that is you can actually, it'll add a mask automatically, but you want to go ahead and invert that mask so it's only affecting those layers that you you actually want to affect. So if you click on where it's mask, and then you click where it says invert mask, then you can come in here with your paintbrush, set to white, because this layer mask is on black, set to white, and then you're just going to paint in those areas of grass that you want affected, where you want that color to change. So that's what I did for that. Let me delete that layer. So I did that with my greens, and then I did that again with my yellows. And so you'll see as I turn that on, the difference that made. See how it turned that color and then that color. So that turned my photo a little bit more fall-like. So the last thing I did to wrap it up was I took a texture and I actually placed it over my whole photo. And the reason that I did that was because in this photo, I don't always use texture layers, although they do give a really nice fine art feel to your photographs. In this case, it's kind of hard to see on here, but she was actually out of focus. The focus, it looks like it fell on her neck scarf here, or maybe on these blades of grass. So since her face is out of focus, it's really trying to save this photograph. The subject may look at it and still think that, oh yeah, you know, that's a good connection with the camera, you know, good composition, that sort of thing. It's just sad that the focus is off. So you can kind of save that a little bit in a few ways, but with this way, I'm going to do it with a texture. So there's a number of textures that you can get for free out there on the internet, or you can download some from some photographers' websites. You can buy some. You know, for this, I actually have some textures I just gotten. This is from a photographer named, I think her, Jessica Drawson. And this one was really nice because it has a whole bunch of different textures that you can choose from. So there's quite a few in there. So for this tutorial, I actually ended up picking two just to kind of show you. So I used the batik, is this one, and then I also used the powder, which is this one. So on this one in particular, this is the batik one. So what you do is you open it up. You have to open it up as a regular just JPEG file. You can't bring it in as a smart object. It has to be a regular JPEG file that you just drag and drop into Photoshop. You can do it from Bridge, or you can open it from a file. It doesn't matter, but it has to be a JPEG. Once you do that, you use your move tool, obviously, and you just drop it on top of your photo. And when you drop it on top of your photo, you're just going to see the texture only. Now, the thing that you have to do to change how you see that texture is you're actually going to go over here to this box right here, which normally will say normal. Normally says normal. So, and then you're just going to kind of play around with how it's affecting your photo by just clicking on these and seeing what looks best, what you like best. A lot of time with these textures, I'm hitting soft light. I just like how that looks better a lot of times. But you could also do, and I'll just show you the difference. You could do multiply. You can do screen. Screen's going to give it like a lighter look. See that? And then multiply, where are you? Multiply kind of gives it like a darker look, like that. So, like I said, I usually just like the soft light. I really like how that always affects with my layer. So then what you want to do is, if you want to make it so your subject is actually kind of standing out a little bit from this layer, it's not over their face or a part of their body, you're actually just going to take your blur tool right here, and there you go, your blur tool right there. And I usually set my strength of this a little low because you can always build up on the blur tool versus like going too far too fast. So I would start out at like 20 to 30%, and then you just come in and then you just go over those areas that you don't want to have the texture on. So it'll keep the tone of the texture, the colors, but it's gonna make that clear. So by doing that, that kind of made her pop out a little bit more, and it made her look a little bit more in focus in her face, versus her looking like she was out of focus before, because all of this is now kind of like under a texture layer and kind of has like a softness to it. So that's how you can do that. You can also, other than using the blur tool on it, there's you can just do a mask on it, and then you can mask in your texture layer where you want it. It's just a matter of preference. Like, you know, in Photoshop, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So that was with this batik, and then with the powder one, here's the powder one. So you can see it just gives a little bit it's your preference what you want with textures, but I love textures. It really looks nice, especially if you know you're going to have a picture that you are going to blow up to a canvas. It really gives that nice fine art look to it. So again, these textures were ones that you can purchase. They are Jessica Drawson, and she actually even gives you a little tutorial here on how to use them in case